Hiya! Thanks for joining me here on this Serious Sunday. What I wanted to catch up on was the Face of Suffrage project. Now, I had a chance to actually go along and see the project for myself, to see the art installation at Birmingham New Street Station, and it gave me an opportunity to find myself amongst that giant mosaic, and some of my friends as well, which was fantastic. But also to kind of take a step back and look at the actual art installation and have to think about what it means for me, but more importantly, what it means for women and for women's rights. So just to touch on, let's say, the project itself, the image that was revealed was of a local suffragette whose name was Hilda Burkitt. She had all sorts of terrible things happen to her. She was in prison, she was force-fed, she was basically imprisoned for throwing a rock at a carriage as part of protests in support of, equal women's rights, the voting rights for women to be able to participate in the government of their country. And I think it was quite interesting. It's certainly very poignant to see perhaps one of those faces that you don't always recognise, you don't always hear about, like Emmeline Pankhurst, for example. And I liked it. It was fantastic to see it. You get to look at it from above. So in order to see the mosaic on the floor, you go to the concourse level on the first floor and you're able to look down and I guess take in everything that you were seeing in front of you, it's huge. It's a huge installation, and really, really fun to then head downstairs and kind of walk through all of those people who have contributed their selfie pictures to make up this one giant mosaic. Now, I found myself about 4 times in there. I found my friend Anna. She was all over the thing, which was fun, and my friend Gemma as well. So I managed to find both of them several times in the mosaic, which was great. And it was nice looking through and finding friends, finding people who, I've sort of shared conversations with, and also contributing to this overall project. And you get to see the other faces that are there, young people, older people, people who've passed on, people who are, young girls coming up through learning about the examples of these women. I thought it was fantastic. So having gone there, I went there with my family. The 3 of us went up there together. We had a great time sort of walking around and sharing our time together, thinking about what this kind of meant, and just fun, picking out my pictures, other people's pictures. My daughter found Anna so many times. She just kept pointing out more and more and more of Anna, which was really good fun. And I loved it. It was a fantastic experience. What really capped it off for me was someone had let me know, and in fact the artist Helen Marshall had pinged me a message over Twitter to say that there was a kind of big blown up picture of my face somewhere in the station. So we went on a little bit of a hunt around. It was quite cold, as it would be in a train station. But we went on a hunt around in the morning and managed to find my picture near Kiko in the concourse area. So as you head out towards one of the exits, I'm on the back of one of the pillars below one of the TV screens that shows the times and, train timetables, that kind of stuff. And that was amazing. It was really quite interesting to get an opportunity to stand next to it in mail mode and kind of see the difference in me up on that big blown up picture, but also to stand there with my daughter and my wife, and it felt really, really good. It was one of those kind of affirming moments that's very normal and yet very abnormal because of how different it is to sort of comfort zone and how different it is to what you do on a day-to-day basis. So I think on reflection, that was an amazing thing to be able to do. And I'm certainly incredibly grateful to Helen and to everyone at the People's Picture for giving me the opportunity to go along and have that kind of big, bold, out there statement about this side of me and who I am. And to stand there with my family next to that picture and kind of see myself out there was a great moment. Really, really fantastic moment. And I loved it. I loved everything about being able to see that. So I've been sharing throughout this video little pictures and also some of the video that we took of walking the faces on the mosaic on the floor. So give you an idea of what it's like to kind of be there and to see that. If you get a chance to go down, please do go have a look. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to touch on this idea of how do you progress and how do you continue to move things forward. I find that what I'm doing on a daily basis with touching sort of normal aspects of my life is really helping me to see how normal this thing can be if it's allowed to be. I think so many of us might start this cross-dressing journey in a kind of fetish type way. I'm not ashamed to say that when I was younger, almost everything I did in relation to cross-dressing, particularly during puberty, was, you could label it as a fetish. It was just wearing knickers, and it was all the normal stuff that boys get up to when they're left on their own. It's quite different for some people. I didn't have this kind of pure experience of thinking, oh, I'm a woman, I'm a woman in stuff, but there was some attraction. There was an attraction that's really quite hard for me to pin down. And I think the way I kind of tie it into this normalization conversation is that for many of us, it's never allowed to progress to the point where you can normalize it. Any kind of activity that is secretive, that is subdued and is held beneath your daily life, beneath your daily experience, must, by definition, have an air of, of fetish to it, of sort of implied wrongness. And it's amazing the degree to which you can let that go if you are free to explore and to play with your expression, your gender expression, in a normalized and straightforward way. This expression of me doing this has taken me, I feel, from that pure fetish-driven cross-dresser type person that I was when I was growing up into something completely different. And as a result, I'm kind of wondering what the end state of this is. I still have no interest in transitioning. I still have no desire to be a woman full time. I love being the most feminine I can be and the most female I can be. But I like going back to being a guy, and I don't feel wrong in either form. I feel right as a guy, right as a girl, but just a bit different. And I know this is heading in the direction of a ramble, but it's got me thinking about normalization, about what do we do as people to have opportunities to be normal. If you feel that you are trapped in your house, if you feel that you can't leave your bedroom, if you feel that you must only wear these things under your guy clothes, if you feel that you are somehow constrained in your expression, then, I've no doubt that any activity that you solely do in your bedroom is going to have some kind of connotation to it. You're going to have this association. But I think from humble or from quite simple beginnings, seeds of individuality can grow. And I find that has happened with me. I think the aim over time, particularly the aim of this channel, the aim of what I'm trying to do, is that as we talk about who we are, as we express who we are, and as we leave behind that, sometimes for some of us, that fetish starting point, as it was with me, we are able to look back at times on our past, on our journey, and to think, consider who we have become and who we might be. One thing just on paths and stuff like that, as I said, I think there's a sort of fetish path, there's a cross-dressing path, and there's a trans path. These three are not linear. You don't start out fetish, progress to cross-dressing, and then progress to being transgender. That's not how this works. For me, you either are or are not on that transgender path. You either have dysphoria or you don't. I can't relate. I can sympathise, but I can't relate to those people purely, based on my own experiences. And they have their path. I think you will either follow that through or you will come off that path. But I don't think you will naturally then fall down into cross-dressing as the next thing for you. Whereas I think that cross-dressing and fetish behaviour, I think they can weave, they can cross over. Again, they're not linear. Not all fetishists are going to end up in cross-dressing. Not all cross-dressers are fetishists. But I think there is enough overlap and interweaving of those paths as you kind of progress through your life that you might start out on one and find yourself merging into another path. And I'm simply curious as to how many people out there who start out in this fetish area, who start out with a sort of purely sexual urge, would divert onto that cross-dressing path given the opportunity and given the freedom to do so. It's an interesting thought. I don't have the answers, but I do know, looking back on my picture, that I've come from that fetish path onto what I consider to be a cross-dressing path. And looking back on my life, I now recognise that who I am as Juliette, and also when I'm not Juliette, it's an expression of me. It's who I am. And it's nothing more, nothing less than that. This is me. The guy is also me. We're both me. This is just my frilly side, if you want to put it that way. It's my girly frilly side. And I'm very happy with that. I'm more than happy with how this works out for me. Anyway, I know this is a bit rambling. It's definitely a sort of more rambling type discussion. It's one of those things that as you talk, you kind of think things through in your head, and things kind of come into focus as you talk. But I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation about that, particularly because I've been prompted to think about this based on standing there with my family and looking back on how things have changed over the last few years in particular, and how this kind of journey has been an interesting one, and how normalising it, doing these conversations, having these conversations with people, meeting new people, has given it a new lease of life, a completely different lease of life for me as an individual. And I think that's within the grasp of so many people if they felt comfortable and safe to be able to take those steps. There's a whole interesting world, I think, awaiting us in the next few years as we continue to view gender as being something that isn't fixed. It's flexible, it's malleable, it's mutable. We can do different things with gender. We're very complicated beings. So thank you for joining me here again on this Zero Sunday. I know it's a bit of a rambling discussion today, but it's one of those things that kind of becomes clearer as you think about it. Well, certainly it does so for me. If there's any comments, please let me know in the comment section down below, or you can get me through my email address, which is juliettesnoir@gmail.com, or through my website, which is juliettenoir.uk. Feel free to like, share and subscribe. Click the little bell to stay notified about upcoming videos. And I look forward to having a little bit of a discussion about this and, how this kind of relates to our daily lives. I look forward to talking to you all again soon. And as ever, bye! Bye.